podcast patrons and friends. Jeannine here with another review, and today I'm talking the A24 prequel Pearl. This is a prequel to the film X that came out earlier this year, which I think this movie already in and of itself is interesting just because of how it came about, the fact that it is a prequel to a film that came out earlier this year, that it's part of this incoming trilogy with a third film coming out called Maxine, following another character from X. So we're kind of going to the past. X is in the middle, and then we have our future coming with Maxine and what's going on with her character. So this already is just very kind of intriguing and smart in the way that this movie was filmed along with X, and building kind of this little trilogy and universe so quickly and just so smartly, really kind of giving you an interesting character in X, and then now we get to kind of see how she became this way, what her life looked like, and continue the story that we kind of saw in X. So definitely a lot of work cut out for this movie, because we know Pearl's fate. We know what happens to her. We know how her life ends up. So to really get us to care and follow her story and really kind of want to understand how she got to that point, I think you really have to do a lot, and this movie actually really succeeds in getting us to really be interested in her story, even though we know what her fate is. So I really loved that about this movie. Seeing her home life, seeing, you know, her just being this big dreamer, and that all being stunted by her abusive mother, and her, you know, having to take care of her sick father, and just feeling kind of burdened and controlled and locked up, and building up all these pent up, not only violent kind of frustrations within her, but sexual frustrations within her. She's married, and her husband Howard, who we also met in X, has left her to go fight in the war, so she is stuck there with her family and just feeling burdened by them and stunted by them. So she, you know, has these big dreams. So you definitely get us to invest in her story and try to understand the psychology of how she is the way she is and why. I really loved that. This movie just felt like a kind of character short, almost, like a Jack Attacks, just a little nugget about a character in a moment that we didn't get to see of a character that we know pretty well at this point. So yeah, I really thought it was just kind of a nice little companion to X, which I think this is what this movie needed to be. And it really just kind of enhances your viewing of X. This movie looked great. It was kind of this beautiful, bright Technicolor, kind of just juxtaposing the newness and the freshness and youngness of this movie, in comparison to kind of the gloomy Texas Chainsaw gritty vibe of X. So kind of having that difference and really just putting this brightness on what we know will be kind of this horrible place later. It was really interesting. Also, just the fact that, like, in X, a lot of the deaths that happen in that movie are at night in the darkness. This movie, all the deaths happen in the day when it's bright and colorful. So it just makes it even more kind of eerie and intense and scary. And menacing, that all of these kind of horrific things are happening in this bright Technicolor daylight. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing as well. Mia Goth gives an amazing performance. There's a scene where she's just giving this monologue, this uncut scene, and she's just talking to you and smiling and crying and just being very kind of unsettling. And she is just amazing in this movie. She has a writing credit on it, executive producer credit on it. So she had a lot of input, I think, in her character and what choices she made with this character and this other side of this character that we've already seen age. So she's doing a lot of interesting things, a lot of great things in this movie. Her intensity, she has to kind of have this naivete, but also some defiance, some anger, some peppiness, she has to convey so much, some menace and violent, angry. So she has so much to do here, and she just handles it so well. You definitely believe that this is the same person we saw in X, for sure. So really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a great companion piece to X and just kind of enhances your viewing of X. If you were not a fan of X, and you probably won't really care about Pearl, but I think it works really well on its own, but particularly as a companion piece and a way to enhance your viewing of X. I thought it was really smart to kind of go back and focus on this character, and now I'm excited to now see Maxine and see what she's doing in the 80s in the porn industry, and if she did in fact become that star, and if there'll be any kind of interesting character parallels that will connect it to X and connect it to Pearl. But Mia Goth is amazing in this movie. Kudos to her for this insane performance. Yeah, I love this movie. Is its own unique thing. It has familiar elements, of course, any horror movie is going to, but it's wholly kind of original, and just original in concept. The fact that it's kind of part of this trilogy, that's connected in such a smart way. So Ty West, kudos to you for this great idea of making these 3 films, having Mia Goth kind of play multiple parts and connect it in a certain way. I thought that was really just a smart idea as a whole. Yeah, just a great year for horror, and this definitely adds to it. So yeah, really enjoyed Pearl, and if you saw Pearl and you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments below. Tell me your thoughts. Like this video, share, subscribe, do all of the things, and the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel we are trying to build and grow. So yes, if you can help us out, that would be awesome. But yeah, let me know what you thought of Pearl, and I will see you in the next one.